We are living in very difficult times. We are living in tough times. I've been economically speaking, and not just in our country, but the world over. Things have actually changed, especially since after COVID, and economies have shifted, and we are still recovering. We're still in that time, in that season where we are recovering. People have lost jobs, businesses have gone down, lifestyles have actually changed, our standard of living has changed, and then coupled with that, there are all other kinds of pressures coming from all corners, from family, relationships, places of work, whatever the case may be. And for some people, even living with one kind of illness or sickness or the other. And in the midst of all this, it is so easy for you to actually lose your mind in the process. It's so easy for you to lose your way in the process. So I want to just take a few minutes of your time to just remind you to remain sober. My name is Mwai, a pastor with Christ is the Answer Ministries, and thank you so much for tuning in. And I hope you will be blessed. Remain sober. Remain sober in changing times, in difficult times is the word that I have for you today. And sometimes it is so easy for us to actually step out of character when we are under so much pressure. There are so many people, even as we speak, who have even ended their lives, because things were so difficult. They were going through mental health issues. A lot of people have turned to alcohol and drugs. Others have walked out of relationships, have walked out of their marriages. Others have just walked out of their jobs. Others are struggling with all kinds of mental health issues, depression and what have you. Why? Because of the pressures of life, the times that we're living in. The Apostle Peter, writing to the church, says in 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8, he reminds us to be vigilant and be sober. In other words, remain sober. Why? Because the enemy he's moving around like a roaring lion, looking for who he may devour. In other words, the enemy is looking for people who are vulnerable. And sometimes the things we go through actually make us vulnerable. They make us targets of the enemy. And sometimes we find ourselves stepping out of character. We find ourselves making certain rash decisions. Why? Because we have fallen prey to the tricks of the enemy. So how do I remain sober? Maybe you're asking and say, Pastor, how do I remain sober in these times and maybe in the midst of what I am going through? The first thing you must do to remain sober is that always remember that whatever you go through, whatever I go through, no matter how difficult, that it shall come to pass. It is just but a season. No season is permanent. It shall come to pass. Whatever you go through, yes, sometimes it may take longer, but it shall come to pass. You're not going to be in that situation for the rest of your life. It shall come to pass. Always remember that. And when I remind myself that this season will come to an end, then it gives me hope to keep holding on. But then the second thing is this, that sometimes when we are under pressure, the temptation is to make decisions, and sometimes when the emotions are running high, I am under pressure and I want to make a certain decision. I always advise this, never make certain decisions, especially when the emotions are running high. In a very highly emotive situation, take a step back, slow down. Maybe that's the time to keep quiet. Maybe that's the time to just walk away, to step away from that situation so that you can recollect yourself, so that you can, and remember, emotions come and go. Just give them time. Today I may be feeling very highly emotive, but maybe within a few hours, a few days, I'll calm down and then I'm able to think reasonably. So when you are under pressure, please don't be hasty when it comes to making certain decisions. Remember, remain sober. But then the third thing is this, maybe you have made certain decisions. Maybe you have made certain choices out of the pressures, the immediate pressures of life. And you realize now that you actually made a mistake. Well, it's very simple. You have to retrace your steps. You may have said some things to some people or to somebody, but you realize you said the wrong thing. You may have maybe taken a certain decision and you realize it was not a good one. Well, you can always retrace your steps and maybe reverse some of those decisions that you actually made. But then finally, very, very critical, very important, I have learned there is power in reflection. Taking time on a daily basis to reflect, thinking about where am I? How am I feeling? What am I going through? What do I feel about this situation? How did that person make me feel? Just taking time to reflect so that you will be in a better place to know what you must do. Reflection is a time where you quiet yourself down, you close yourself in, you're not listening to anybody, you're just listening to yourself in your own thought, and you process your own thoughts. And it brings you to a better place where you can actually make certain decisions and you can be able to do certain things. So please, whatever you're going through, wherever you are, whoever you are, remain sober, remain vigilant. Remember that when you are under pressure, you are a prime target of the enemy. Please share this message with as many people. We are in all our social media spaces. Please just go ahead, share this word with somebody. I'm sure somebody is going to be helped. And may the Lord bless you and may the Lord keep you.